Hello and welcome to Quotation Points video Snark. I'm currently reading through The Betrothed by Kiera Cass. This is not the first video of this book, so I'd recommend that you watch the other videos before you start this. Links are posted below. Chapter 5. Jameson continues to shower Hollis with flowers, but now he's not the only one. Other members of the court are also giving her plenty of presents. Furthermore, she feels like they're being a bit nicer towards her. She thinks Seema might be behind this, but she isn't certain. And all of this seems to be happening a little too fast. There's no struggle, and I literally do not care about Jameson nor Hollis at this point, so I'm honestly waiting for something awful to happen. Heck, even a love triangle at this point would probably be welcome, because then at least something would happen. Hollis goes to meet Jameson one morning. They make idle chit-chat about the trinkets that Hollis has been getting when they're interrupted by a court advisor. He says that some people are there to see Jameson about settling in the kingdom. In this world, you need permission to move into a kingdom. Hollis says that under the rule of Jameson's father, people were often treated unfairly, although she doesn't go into details. Jameson seems to think that it would be a good idea if Hollis were also present to hear the case of these people. Hollis is hesitant, but as she looks around, she gets affirmations from both Della but also Seema. The family is shown in, and a moment is spent describing their physical appearances. In truth, I never even understood people from Iceland. I'm not even going to pretend to know how to pronounce that. The word that came to mind most of the time was unoriginal. Yes, I'd heard of their great findings in astronomy and herbology, and that the medicines discovered by their doctors were yielding great benefits for their people, but the music they made was bland at best, the dances they performed were copied from ours, and most of their efforts at art were modified forms of something seen elsewhere. Their fashion seemed to be their best attempt at something else no one laid claim to, and why would they? Who cares about their scientific discoveries, because have you seen those sleeves? Girl will get some priorities. Jameson tries to ask why they've come there. However, as soon as the head of the family introduces himself, Jameson seems to recognize the name. Jameson also makes an offhanded comment that it's little wonder that people are fleeing from their country and coming to Corona. Not even gonna pretend anymore. Don't correct me. However, much like everything else so far in this series, there is no context for any of this, nor does Hollis feel the need to clue the readers in on why these people are seeking asylum. After a moment, the father urges his oldest son to give Jameson a gift. He walks up to the king and offers him a golden sword, which Jameson is impressed with. I can't help but feel like there's a reason why it is that people do not use swords made out of gold, but you know what? I'm a book critiquer, not a blacksmith. The father says that his son has entered into the trade of making things like that sword. He goes on to say that they're fleeing an awful situation, which is pretty much just repeating what Jameson said a page earlier without adding anything to the narration. Jameson then turns to Hollis and asks what she thinks. Hollis takes a moment to orient herself to his question before she replies. She points out that with skills like that, they could contribute a lot to society, although I hate to tell you this, but most peasants do not need gold swords. If this book was better written, I'd probably say something about letting the poor people eat cake, but it's not, so here we are. Jameson seems pleased with Hollis's answer. He then tells the family that they should stay in the castle with him, if only because of their skills. However, Hollis feels like it's more of an order than a suggestion. And again, if this book was any good, this would probably be seen like foreshadowing to something sinister that would happen later. However, even just 5 chapters in, I'm not exactly holding my breath of anything like that happening. As the family is leaving, Jameson tells Hollis that she needs to learn how to make snappier judgments. The son from the book turns to look back at them as they're leaving the room. A quick flutter of whatever had made him hold my gaze before rushed through me, and it felt like a tiny pull in my chest was telling me to follow those eyes. This sounds an awful lot like the start of a love triangle. Maybe I spoke too soon. Maybe I should have asked for something more exciting than a love triangle. At this point, I'd do anything for a dragon to show up and have a battle with the court wizards. It was worth a shot. Chapter 6. The political matter settled, Jameson wants to take Hollis somewhere right then. However, as they stand to leave, Jameson notes that Hollis is trembling slightly. She says that having everybody's attention on you and having to make quick decisions is nerve-wracking. Jameson says that he learned how to handle the pressures of being king from his father, but his wife will have to learn from Jameson. As they continue along, Jameson tells her that he's been taken with her since they first met. Hollis offhandedly mentions that she made a fool of herself during their first meeting, but much like everything up until this point, we don't have any context of what that might have been. I've already given up. 6 chapters in, and this book is going to be bland and boring and hopeless. Anyway, Jameson takes Hollis to see the crown jewels. Hollis takes a moment to explain about some of the history of the country. Not like I care at this point, but the country was once plagued with constant strife and civil wars. Eventually, Jameson's ancestors showed up and kind of got everything back under control. But since none of that is probably going to be of actual importance, back to looking at pretty things. Hollis is breathless to see the fancy things and thanks Jameson for allowing her to see it. However, he goes a step further and says that he wants for Hollis to pick out something from the Queen's collection to wear on crowning day. Hollis picks something out and then Jameson kisses her. He then confesses his undying love for her and says that in the coming weeks he's going to make sure that everybody knows how much he really loves her. He warns that it's not going to be easy. And then because authors have somehow gotten it into their heads that readers don't like self-assured and strong characters, Hollis trots out this fake modesty and insists that she doesn't think that she's good enough to stand by his side. But a quick speech from Jameson about wanting somebody to stand by his side is enough to remind Hollis of how much she also loves him. Jameson also warns that she'll get a lot of negative pushback from the Council of Lords because they've been trying to get him to marry some princess from such and such land too. You know what? It literally does not matter. Jameson hates that other girl and he only wants Hollis. And then that's the entire chapter. As I said earlier, I've already given up on this book. Literally nothing is happening. It's like I opened up a romance novel 3 chapters from the end, but for some reason it just keeps going. I'm still expecting for that boy mentioned in the previous chapter to show up, but at this point, not holding my breath. Thanks for listening to my book Snark on YouTube. New videos are up every Monday. Be sure to like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications so that you don't miss anything. Also, while you're waiting for the new video next week, be sure to catch up on my other video series. If you've already caught up with that, then you can head over to Tumblr for my main book Snarks, always free and updated daily. People who support me on Patreon also have early access to my daily Snark, but also bonus Snark that isn't up anywhere else. People who donate to me, either by supporting me on Patreon or by making a one-time donation via PayPal or Ko-fi, also get shoutouts in my videos. Thank you so much to Don and Phoebe for supporting me already. Be sure to join my Patreon or donate to hear your name next week. Also, if you want to read some of the stuff that I've published, then you can purchase my works on Amazon. I have 18 erotic short stories, 1 short story collection, and 1 full-length novel. Links for everything will be posted below. See you next week, guys!